And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, August 7th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link, that is gsmcpodcast.net. Really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So with that, let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about the latest rumors surrounding Brandon Aiyuk. That's been going on the last couple of days, so I just wanted to touch upon that, as well as talking about Christian McCaffrey and giving you an update on his injury, a calf strain that's going to keep him out for the entire preseason. So a couple of things with the 49ers to start off the show. Then in the second part of the show, we will recap episode 1 of the Hard Knocks episode featuring the Bears. So the training camp version of that. So I watched that last night, so I want to get into that. We'll talk about the practices between the Giants and the Lions that have gotten heated. There's been some scuffles, some fights breaking out. So I just wanted to get into that as well. Then we'll talk about Joe Burrow, some recent comments that he had on the Up and Adams show talking about Patrick Mahomes going up against him. And then in the final part of the show, we will begin our receiver rankings, and we will talk about the NFC East. We'll get into the NFC East and rank the receiver groups, the receiving cores in that division. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the latest Brandon Aiyuk rumors. So there's been a lot of mixed things. So you had these trade packages in place for Aiyuk, and supposedly the two teams that were in on Aiyuk, there was three, and then you heard that one of the teams was out, and then they were back in. It was just a lot of mixed reports out there yesterday. But basically, the Browns were in on him, the Patriots were in on him, and the Steelers were supposedly in on him. And for the Steelers, in order for them to possibly obtain Aiyuk, they'd have to give up one of George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, or their first-round pick for next year. And probably not going to happen. But I think that's why there were reports out there. Well, that was why there were reports out there that the Steelers were reportedly out on Aiyuk. The Patriots, apparently, Kendrick Bourne was involved in the trade package. For the Browns, it would be Amari Cooper, who just restructured his contract. So you have all that, but the 49ers don't want to trade Aiyuk. And I know he's been a topic of conversation this offseason because he wants that new deal, but who knows if that's going to happen with the Niners. And Kyle Shanahan expressed hope that Aiyuk would remain with the team, but provided no timetable for a resolution. He refused to discuss specifics regarding offers, contracts, or trades. And yeah, it's just there are a bunch of reports out there, and you just don't know what to believe. Now, in terms of what would be the best fit for him, because you have the Steelers, you got the Browns, and you got the Patriots. Well, the Patriots are a little further away from competing right now. They're in a rebuild. And you got a young quarterback in Drake May. Right now, I don't think he's going to be the starter right off the bat. I think you're going to have Jacoby Brissett start at least a year, and then you go to Drake May at some point. So, but, I think if you were to rank the three destinations, they'd probably be ranked at the bottom. And then between the Browns and the Steelers. Well, here's the thing. Both teams, I think, will be very competitive. They'll be in the thick of things in the playoff race. But which is the better destination for him? It's tough to say. If you go to the Browns, you're going to be the number one guy. And I mean, you could be the number one guy in Pittsburgh too, but they got George Pickens, who's a stud. But with the Browns, Jerry Jeudy's been, we were expecting more from him. And you got David Njoku and Elijah Moore there, and you got Deshaun Watson, who hasn't been great since going over the Browns. And then with the Steelers, you got George Pickens, who's a stud. And then at the quarterback position, there's question marks there too, because Russell Wilson, we don't know if he's going to be there. Well, both quarterbacks, we don't know if they're going to be there beyond this year. So it's kind of a toss-up between the Browns and the Steelers, in my opinion. Which would I would lean towards. It's really tough. I mean, I guess maybe you lean towards the Browns because the Browns are locked in with Deshaun Watson. With the Steelers, I mean, you don't know. They have a completely different quarterback room this year. They could have a completely different quarterback room next year because Russell Wilson's only there for 1 year. And Justin Fields, they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, so he's going to be a free agent. Now, Justin Fields has looked great in camp, but we got to see how they actually play in a real game. So, but what's the best move for Aiyuk? It's staying in San Francisco. Why would you want to leave? Well, you could say, because he wants to get paid, and the 49ers are not willing to give him the money that he wants. I get it. But you go anywhere else, any other team that's willing to trade for you, and the 49ers are willing to trade with them, it's not going to be like it is in San Francisco. Now, you're going to be the guy. You're going to get your targets. You're going to put up good numbers, but are you going to win? Probably not. And you have some people in the media saying that the 49ers Super Bowl window is closed if Aiyuk is to leave, which I think is ridiculous because this team is still really good even without Aiyuk. Now, does this offense take a massive hit? Absolutely. But they have enough players on this team that they're going to be able to work through it. So, but that's just the latest. I mean, right now, nothing has happened. But those are the teams that at least were in on Aiyuk. So we'll see if he ends up getting traded. I mean, I've said it all along that I'm not very optimistic with how this is going and that this is ultimately going to lead to him going somewhere else. But only time will tell. And, the 49ers are dealing with some injuries and also another holdout. Trent Williams is holding out, so he's looking for a new contract. So it's just the 49ers have a lot going on. But with the injuries, so Christian McCaffrey is dealing with a calf strain. He's expected to miss a couple of weeks of practice and is unlikely to play in the preseason. The 49ers will handle McCaffrey's injury with caution to ensure he is ready for the regular season. And also their rookie, Ricky Pearsall, who could be Aiyuk's replacement. He aggravated his shoulder during practice, so that's just another injury there as well. But, a calf injury, those are tough to deal with. Those are very tough to deal with. And McCaffrey has dealt with them before. I think he was dealing with it a little bit last year, if I'm not mistaken. Because, he did play in every game, but he was still dealing with nagging injuries throughout the season. But they got to be very careful with him, and I think they will, because they don't want to see this guy get hurt. Because he has been a difference maker since he came over to San Francisco from Carolina. So we talk about, if Aiyuk leaves, that hurts the 49ers. But you still got him. You still got Deebo Samuel. You still got George Kittle. You're backed up by a very good defense. And Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. And I'm not saying he's elite. Not saying he's top tier. But he's gotten the job done. Whether you think he's a system quarterback or not. He's gotten the job done. So they'll figure it out. But now you got, the stuff with Aiyuk and, McCaffrey's hurt. It's just, they're dealing with a lot right now. But I think they're a good enough team that they're going to be able to figure it out. But I know my friends who are Jet fans are like, McCaffrey, you could take his much time as you want to heal up, even if it leaks into the regular season. Because that's the opening matchup on Monday, on the first Monday, is Jets 49ers. And, my Jet fan friends and family members, they do not want to see McCaffrey. And they don't want to see Aiyuk. Just give the Jets a very easy game. Well, even if those guys are out, it's still going to be tough. But make it a little bit easier. So, but it just seems like McCaffrey will be fine for the regular season, but right now he's just not going to play in the preseason. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep on the Aiyuk stuff. But yeah, it looked like for the moment that, he could be traded yesterday, but that ended up not happening. So maybe something happens today. Who knows? I mean, we saw him shaking hands with Kyle Shanahan at practice. So he was showing up, just not practicing. So we'll see how it goes. But this is just something that's going to continue. And yeah, the season's a month away. So we're getting closer. But let me know what you guys think, though, about the Aiyuk trade rumors, the McCaffrey injury. It's just, the 49ers are getting hit with a lot. And like I said, Trent Williams is holding out. Ricky Pearsall's hurt. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And on top of that, you got Dre Greenlaw, who's recovering from his injury that he suffered in the Super Bowl. Those are big pieces for this team. Now, like I said, I think they'll figure it out, but, we saw back in 2020 when the 49ers were getting killed by injuries. Now, some of these aren't injuries. These are just guys looking for a new contract, but still. A lot of their guys were out, and look what ended up happening to them. They ended up just not having a good year. I forget what they went. They went like 6-10. So we'll see what happens, but let me know what you guys think, though, in the comments about these two things and just the 49ers in general. So when we come back from our first break of the show, I'll talk about episode 1 of Hard Knocks featuring the Bears. Give you my thoughts on that when we come back from our first break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.